tonight, please introduce our guest speaker, one of the top late model drivers on pavement at Flemington Speedway of all time, and track champion. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Jim Wismer, Jr. Have a seat.
All right, I'm ready.
Somebody like to start with a question?
Jim, you're one of the few guys who made the transition from dirt to asphalt. And you weren't the most successful dirt driver. What was the difference on running a pavement?
Well, me and Clyde were just talking about that earlier. I think we had a little bit of an advantage because of the shape of the racetrack. At the end of the dirt, I think the track was getting harder, drier, and you had to drive the car straighter. And I think when the asphalt came along, we just adapted well because you had to do the same thing, but basically just at higher speed. And, you know, I think that's what helped us.
You talked about the first day where you showed over your dirt car with asphalt tires, and then you got Todd Craig who shows up with this Dillon asphalt, almost an ASA car.
Yeah, it was quite intimidating at first, and you know, he was fast right out of the box, and you kind of expected that. And with his background and everything, you know, he was real fast right out of the box. Like I said, his car looked like you said an ASA car, and we had basically a third car with just wide tires on it because we didn't know what was going to happen when we got to the asphalt. But in time, we started, you know, being competitive with him, you know, and he wasn't always the fastest car, but he was, you know, he did win a share of races, and we were just learning, you know, the whole asphalt stuff. But he had kind of you know, a lot of experience with asphalt, so he knew, you know, some more stuff than we did. So that's what made him have the upper advantage.
What was your most memorable one, Jim?
When?
Which one? What was? Yeah.
It's weird. My first win has to be the most memorable win. You know, the win. You know, but the memories, you know, Flemington. You know, there's so many that I just don't know which, you know, what would be the best memory. You know, I mean, the first win was probably the best because I feel like I beat the best was, you know, Phil Cox. I passed him for a lead win, and I mean, it took me a long time because I got so many second place finishes before I won. You know, beating Phil was pretty, you know, pretty big for me. You know, I'd say that.
Very good question. When all of you guys were running on asphalt to begin with, it was all new to everybody. A lot of times when somebody's just starting out in a class where everybody else has been running, they share information, try to get guys going in the right direction. Was that the same situation when everybody was in this at the same time, or did you tend to maybe hold stuff back a little bit from other guys so you could get straight and they could find their own way?
Well, that's hard to say. I think in the beginning, I did lean on some guys. I do remember asking Clyde some questions. I do remember that, and I think we kind of did, but we stayed away from that Todd Craig guy because he was like, you know, he come in here with all this money and all this, you know, equipment, and he's gonna, you know, beat us. And yeah, we kind of did stick together, I guess you could say, as a group, and try to figure this out. And yeah, I do remember that, conversing with other drivers and trying to figure out what we could do to make our cars better, because we did want to beat that guy, that newcomer. We wanted to beat him, you know.
Did the dynamic change in the late model division significantly when Lewis came in?
Yeah, it did. I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
In what way, Jim?
I had trouble with this whole thing with Johnny. I mean, me and Johnny we hated each other, outright hated each other, and after this all ended, me and Johnny became really close. I did some TV work for Service Electric and doing some commentating for races and stuff, and we got really close with the family and with Jimmy and all this. And the whole thing, I mean, what I'm getting at is it's really a strange situation for me because it really bothered me to death with Johnny. But our racing together, oh my God, I think we were two morons of race cars that just wanted to beat each other, you know. And Johnny was probably, I mean, probably the best the best guy to race against. He would not give you nothing, and it was fun not giving him nothing too. But some of them nights, man, I remember the flows. They were tough.
He jumped across your hood a couple times.
Yeah, I took him down the track, I hit the brakes, and he fell off. Yeah. But Johnny was tough, man. He got right back up and didn't even bother. You know what I mean? He probably broke his ankle and didn't even know it. You know, he was tough, and a lot of people don't know that. He was tough. He worked on all his own cars. He did all his own work. He was smart and very talented race car driver.
What about Clyde? Was he the same way?
Clyde?
That's not bad.
Me and Clyde, we had our differences. But Clyde was, you know, you could race with Clyde. He got wrecked. I mean, you knew that. Clyde was going to wreck you. And he was a clean racer, you know. I probably ruffled his feathers more than he ruffled mine. But, I mean, you know, he was a real clean racer. You could pass him without no problems, and he raced clean. He was always there, you know what I mean? But I don't think I had many encounters with Clyde. I don't remember that. I mean, more with Phil. And, you know, me and Phil, we had our problems, but, you know, you think about it now, it's like, man, what were we doing? What were we arguing? It was just a race car.
What made you run late models? Your dad ran Sportsman and all that. Why didn't you go to modified when you started out?
Well, I like it. I like the look of the late model. I like the whole idea of when they, you know, a full body car. I just like that look. I was never big into a modified. Something I thought that fit me. That's what I wanted to do. You know, I know my dad ran Sportsman, and for me, this was what I wanted to do. I liked it, and I still do today. I've driven asphalt modified, but I really like late model. And after driving them and the way they are, that's what I like.
I've got a little history. You know, I guess your dad raced, and is there anybody before in the family, you know, how things kind of got started that way?
Huh. How my dad got started and how
Yeah, well, how you got started and you got involved.
Well, it's really, I mean, this goes way back. My dad lived next to a family that had skiffs. They had Tommy's skiffs. He had a race car. My dad and him worked on it together. And they ran a Hatfield. My dad decided he should get his car. He had a car, and then it built up into a two-car operation with my dad. He raced 3 nights a week, and it got pretty big. And then, you know, everybody, it seemed like in Upper Black Eddy had a race car. I mean, I don't know. It's, from around here, it's different. Like, it's almost like Flemington. Everybody in Flemington had race cars, right? Yeah. And then you go to Upper Black Eddy, it was almost the same thing. Like, my dad lived a mile from Hook. So that started my dad, because he would watch Hook drive them cars up and down the road to try them out. And there was, that story, I'm friends with Barney Swope that helped Hook. And I see him every other Friday. And the stories about them flipping cars over down there at the neighbor's house that hated them guys, I mean, the stories are, you would think that they're making them up, and they're probably true, and Larry can probably tell you that they're true. I mean, but my dad's seen all this, and, you know, I'm getting off track, but the racing around our area was big. It was huge, and just, when he stopped, you know, he didn't really want nothing more to do with it. He never really went to a racetrack, but I kept begging, and he wouldn't even take me, and I always went to Flemington. I went with Flemington, my best friend. We rode our bikes there. We did anything we had to do to get to Upper Black Eddy to get to the racetrack on Saturday night. You know, it was just where you had to be, you know. And that was in the 80s more than I can remember, because that's when I could get out and get around as a kid, you know. My dad quit in '77. And that was after a bad wreck over there, you know. He got hurt pretty bad. He flipped out to the third turn, I guess. I'm not quite sure that. Larry might know more about it than I do. No, but he got hurt pretty bad, and he ended up quitting after that.
I understand you didn't race for a while, and then you took the car, was it last year or the year before, put up the out that length to travel out and won the feature?
Yeah. Well, last September around this time, I had a Friday night. I said I'm going to race tomorrow. I don't know why, but I decided we were going to go to Mahoning, and we went to Mahoning, and we ended up. Everything fell our way. Let's put it that way. I wasn't, everything fell our way, and we ended up winning the feature. Yeah. It was fun night.
Jim, your dad was one of the few men that were successful at all the three tracks, not counting each winter, that'd be Nazareth, Harmony, and Flemington. And you also have went on to go Oswego, Wall, Mahoning Valley, Evergreen, and you guys somehow could pick up where some guys never could go with another speedway. And you lived in Upper Black Eddy and you built your own stuff. It's quite an accomplishment.
Well, honestly, that was probably one of our biggest things about it. We wanted to build our own stuff. I remember my dad building cars. I remember my dad renting a tubing bender so he could copy it. He copied it and made his own tubing bender. Took it back to the rental company. Him and Charlie Shire, actually, I don't know, but And then I remember my dad building these cars. I thought that was the neatest thing I ever seen in my life. Guys building this stuff. I used to draw pictures of my mom said that them building these cars. And then my most fun was, and my dad's building these cars and going out and winning with them. I met a lot of people through this, doing this, fabricators, and that helped me actually after this and helped me try to get better. And that was the most fun of it. Is really building the race cars and winning with them. Because I see my dad do it. I thought that was neat, My grandfather welding and my dad bending tubing. It was neat. It was fun. And I think I got more enjoyment out of that than even the wins. You know what I'm saying?
Any races planned for this year?
Yeah, I think we're going to go to Mahoning Valley on October 27th. They're having a bigger 75-lap late model race, so they don't do that.
When the speedway closed at 2000, was there? Did you have any doubt you were going to keep racing? I know you had other experiences with this track at that point. Did you think that maybe you would not race, or was it always you would find something else to do with your car at other places?
Well, we did race other places. I mean, we spent a season at Evergreen or Mahoning or Mountain, whatever you want to call it. And then we tried bigger races. We went to try to qualify for the Oxford 250. We tried to qualify for a couple other races, bigger races, but we found out we just couldn't afford it. And what really hurt is being in Flemington, we had a lot of bigger sponsors that would help us, and being away from that kind of hurt our sponsorships, and we didn't have the money as a family to put back into the car to do, an every week thing or go to these places. So I didn't know, and I still don't know why I have a race car today, but I do. I should have sold it, but I can't. I gotta race once in a while. I gotta do it. It's just, I don't know if I'll ever sell it.
Now, the car you have now, is that the same one you ran at Flemington or no?
No. Actually, Clyde drove that car. Yeah, Clyde drove that car. It was another deal that I got, and the guy wanted me to drive it for him, and I drove it, and I ended up liking it, so I bought it. And then again, I didn't like the way it was built, so I cut it up, made it my own way, and I think again, it's more working on these cars. I enjoy changing stuff and trying to make things better or make them worse, and you never know.
So you don't have a phone with the car anymore?
No, I sold them both. Yeah.
What was your best run on dirt?
The last time I ran on dirt?
Yeah, what was your best run?
Oh, that's interesting too.
Because it wasn't like you were in the back of the pack,
No, my first time there was 1989, and I was running second. They had a rain shortened the late model race. I forget how this worked, but 10 laps or something. It shortened halfway through. Bob Travelline was leading. He broke a rear coming across for their 10-lap checkered flag. If it would have went all 12 laps, I would have won that race.
Wow.
But it only went 10 because of rain, And then when he went across for the checkered flag, the rear broke his car and stopped and locked up. So if that race would have went 12 laps, I would have won that first race.
No, was that your first race?
That's my first race at Flemington. Now, I raced at Nazareth previously at street stocks.
Okay.
No. But, no, we had a lot of seconds on third. I just never could, for some reason, I could never pull that win off on third. You know, I don't know why. But even took, like I said, it took a while even on asphalt. And then, they just kept coming after that. It was great, you know. I'm not complaining, you know. But I wish I could have won one on third because, you know, to me that was, that was the racetrack. And I'll say this today, there was no better dirt track and there was no better asphalt track. And I ran, not a whole bunch of asphalt tracks, but quite a few. And that was the best asphalt track and dirt track for me to race on. I mean, as a fan, I'm going to say it's the best, you know.
Jim, growing up as a kid, did you have a favorite driver other than your dad?
Yeah. I had a lot of them. I mean, I liked Gerald Chamberlain. He was one of my. That's probably one of my. Like people said about your memories of Flemington. I remember my dad walking me up, and I think I'm right, but correct me. There was a brown van in the infield that sold Gerald Chamberlain apparel. I could be wrong, but my dad had gotten friendly with Gerald because I think somebody he knew or he did sold McCreary tires, and I wanted this hat in the worst way, and I remember my dad taking me there and getting that hat, and I still have that hat. Gerald Chamberlain, it was a mesh hat with a Gerald Chamberlain patch on that. That was probably one of my fondest memories. I don't know why, I just remember that so much, you know. And yeah, I mean, you can list. There was a list of drivers I could tell you, you know, who I like. You know, I like Pouch. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Him and my dad got into it at Nazareth one night. But there was this thing with Billy, man, in Flemington. He was just, I'm going to say magical, really. I mean, I see internet blogs and stuff, people saying stuff about Pouch, but you know what? We're lucky. I think in our lifetime, we're lucky. We got to see, I did, anyways, I got to see Billy Pouch at so many different racetracks win races. And, you know, some people can't say that, but I'm lucky to see that. I'm lucky to see that, you know?
I agree with it.
Jim, you're still active in the sport in other aspects now other than driving? What are you doing?
Well, I build bumpers and rub rails for dirt modifieds and do chassis repairs and try to help everybody out, you know, getting their cars going and whatever I can do, you know, whatever I can be involved in helping guys out or building parts for them. And that's a lot of fun for me. I mean, I get to see guys use some guys that I can't believe buy this stuff from me. You know what I mean? That were like guys that, you know, I look up to, and I'm very fortunate for that. Really, that's been very important to me the last couple of years, making this go and trying to, you know, supply everybody with the stuff they need. It's not easy. I learned that the hard way, doing it, having a job and having a wife and a kid, and doing this on the side. So that's one of my goals, is to still be involved in racing and you know, maybe not be driving.
What was your toughest track other than Flemington competitive on?
Oxford. That's the toughest place I've ever been. And I went to qualify for the 38 spots. There was 95 cars.
Right.
Yeah, it was the toughest thing I ever did. Volusia was tough too. I went to Volusia for Speed Weeks. That was the toughest thing. But Volusia left me a lot of Speed Weeks there. Left me a lot of fun memories and people I met and people I actually beat there. I was, you know, that was tough, but it was a rewarding tough. Oxford, they kicked me in the ass and sent me home. You know what I mean? That was tough.
You also did very well at Oswego too, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Oswego. I mean, that's a different place. I mean,
What do you think it takes from Flemington to Oswego running there with the inside rail and the fact that you're still kind of running it as a circle or not? Is there any setup? What do you one or the other?
I won at Flemington on I can't remember. It was 1 week later. I took the same car to Oswego on the same exact setup. I kind of felt that the speed helped me from Flemington to Oswego because it's so fast there. It was the fastest place I've ever been. And I only think that because they had long straightaways. And you could actually flip around, and it's going to hurt if I hit something. Like Flemington, you were always on your toes because it was a circle, you know, you were always on the, you know, just always aware of what was going on. It's just, Oswego was a little different than that.